Howdy folks, Dr. Ed here with Total Body Healthcare, and I've got your Whiteboard Wednesday thought of the week. This week for Whiteboard Wednesday, I'd really like us to take a journey together. We're sitting on a plane in Los Angeles, California, and our destination is New York City. Takeoff is smooth with no issues. Our pilot informs us that we have clear skies all the way across the country and that we should expect a very smooth flight. Now, unbeknownst to us, the pilot has mistakenly set the heading 3.5 degrees off to the south. Now, to me, 3.5 degrees does not sound like a whole lot. However, without any course correction across the country there, our plane would actually land in Washington, D.C. That is a difference of 229 miles. So that small misdirection at the start of our journey turned into quite the mistake. Why do I bring this up? Well, if our goal as parents is to deliver our kids into adulthood with good overall health, that's quite a journey. And unlike our cross-country flight mentioned above here, we know that as parents, we can expect some turbulence along the way. No matter how hard we try, life isn't perfect, and we can expect some bumps and hazards as we're raising our kids. Now, back to our flight. The sooner our pilot notices the mistake, the less of a course correction it will take to get the plane back on the right heading. However, the opposite is very true as well. Not only will the flight take more time the longer the course heading mistake is allowed to continue, but it will also require more fuel, more flight hours for the crew, even more work for the ground crew once the destination is reached. This is analogous to the journey of our kids' health. The sooner we begin to address issues with their health, the easier it will be to maintain good overall health. As we've said many times on Whiteboard Wednesday, our nervous system is what controls our health. It's kind of like the pilot of the plane. Can our kids' health have a course misdirection on takeoff? In other words, right at birth? Unfortunately, yes, absolutely it can. A big issue that has been coming to light over the past decade or so is birth traumas. And I believe we need to have a clarification on the word trauma in this context. Birth traumas are anything that varies from natural, drug-free vaginal birth. That's the way God designed humans to be born, and in my opinion, anything different from that is traumatic on the infant's nervous system. The more interventions performed during labor and delivery, the more off course that infant's nervous system will be. So instead of a 3.5 degree misdirection, throw in a few interventions like forceps or C-section or even vacuum extraction, and you now have a much larger course misdirection at the start of this kid's life. Now, don't get me wrong. These interventions have saved many lives. Statistically, though, the use of them has been steadily increasing for quite some time. Researchers are starting to piece together some interesting data linking the overuse of these interventions and childhood health conditions. I'm not here to beat up anybody who has had these interventions during labor and delivery. As a matter of fact, both of my boys were delivered via C-section. Let's get back to our flight analogy. The plane has taken off and it is off course. The pilot doesn't realize the mistake until the control tower radios him to bring his attention to it. He didn't realize the mistake even though he was monitoring the gauges and the control systems in the cockpit. It takes an outside observer to notice the mistake. Our kids' nervous system are the same way. If they are off course from birth, it will take an outside observer to note the mistake. You see, the child's nervous system didn't even know it was off course, even though it was monitoring all the gauges and systems of the body. The reason for this is because from takeoff, from birth, in other words, because of those birth traumas, the nervous system didn't know it was off. The central nervous system can only respond to the signals given to it by the peripheral nervous system in the body. These signals are the ones that would have been altered by the birth trauma. Now, as parents, you may notice that your child isn't functioning the way they should be. Your gut is telling you something's awry. So you take your child to the pediatrician, an outside observer, right? And you're told, hey, they will grow out of it. In other words, they're going to stay off course. Put this in terms of our flight analogy. If you have taken off from Los Angeles and are headed to New York City, the scenery under the plane should be quite predictable. In other words, as you take off, you first fly over Arizona. Maybe you notice the Grand Canyon. A little bit further on, off to the north of the plane, you notice the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Then you hit the wheat fields of Kansas. And then the crop fields of our Midwestern states, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Finally, the Allegheny Mountains of Pennsylvania greet you as you start your descents down into New York City. Depending on the amount of course misdirection at takeoff, again, 3.5 degrees is going to yield a 229-mile difference. But depending on that amount of course misdirection, the scenery as you fly across the country would look very different. Maybe you'd go way south or way north. With a course misdirection at birth, the scenery under the plane of your child's health would look different than you planned as well. It would probably start out innocent enough with maybe some colic or digestive issues. If no course correction is made, then maybe frequent ear infections or other immune system challenges, or maybe allergies, asthma. Again, as the child grows, things like behavioral issues like ADD or maybe anger outbursts. The point is, the longer your child's health is off course, the more issues will develop. So, who should be in the control tower helping your child's nervous system make the course correction it needs? A neurologically focused pediatric chiropractor. That's my job. My focus as a pediatric chiropractor isn't whether your child has back pain or not. My focus is to help their nervous system head in the right direction. And just like our flight analogy, the sooner I can assist their nervous system, the less course correction will be necessary. Just like the control tower has all kinds of instruments and technologies to help the planes reach their destination safely, we use instruments and technology to help determine how far off course your child's nervous system may be and assist it with course corrections. So, if your goal is to help your child reach their destination of good health, give us a call. And since I love dad jokes, you're guaranteed some good in-flight entertainment. I'm Dr. Ed with Total Body Healthcare, and there is your Whiteboard Wednesday Thought of the Week.